Welcome to the Irish Expat Podcast. In today's episode, we'll be covering the capital city, Rome. We'll be chatting about why we chose Rome, the Vatican and other guides, transport, accommodation, food and fun, value for money, and some overall tips if you're planning on visiting Rome. Hi, I'm Jane.
And I'm Cormac.
And welcome to the Irish Expat Podcast. We've been on the road for 6 months, travelling the lengths and breadths of Italy.
Season 1 is all about our 6-week holiday from the southern city of Naples to the Lake Garda in the north.
We'll be giving our best tips and tricks and talking about our highlights and mistakes.
And how we've ended up moving to Florence.
Make sure you're subscribed, and if you like this episode, then please give us a 5-star rating. You can find us on Instagram and TikTok at altlivin and find out more about us on altlivin.com. So hello, Cormac.
How are you today, Jay?
We're starting to get through it now, aren't we?
We're getting there.
Finally. It only took us about 6 months to
finally find a rhythm.
Yeah, it says we've been on the road for 6 months. It's been like
it's
10
9
now.
Or 10 now. Yeah. The road's getting longer.
So it took us a little while to record some of these podcasts, but we're on a roll at the minute. So
getting them done. Getting them out there.
Getting them done. We want to thank Sheena from Galway Food Tours for giving us a shout out on her social media pages and actually giving us a kick up the arse to get these recorded.
Yes.
But we do have all of our notes, but we just want to get them recorded as soon as possible so that we don't forget anything.
All the good parts, yeah.
All the good parts. So we're on Rome. Do you want to explain how many times we've been to Rome and how we're breaking down these episodes?
So we've been to Rome 3 times now?
Is it 3 times?
Or is it twice?
I think it's twice. Officially twice.
Officially twice. So yes, we're going to break it up because the last time we were there for the rugby,
our second time, yeah.
It was quite the adventure. We're going to separate that into another podcast because it doesn't seem fair to try and jumble it all up into one because that's a hell of a story by itself.
It is. We're going to have some guests on the podcast, our first ever guests.
Yes, indeed.
But yes, so this podcast is going to focus on our first time going to Rome. We stayed in Rome.
First time in Rome.
We stayed in Rome for 5 nights and we'll do a little bonus episode on the absolute disaster that was the last time we went back. So stay tuned for that.
Don't give anything away.
It was just, oh God. Anyway, so you can look forward to that. That'll be our next episode out. But yeah, so we'll just jump straight into it. Our first trip to Rome, we'd come from the lovely Sorrento.
Yes.
And we hopped on a train and got to Rome. And it was hot.
It was 41 degrees the first day we were in Rome.
Pretty much the whole time. We got to 42 at one point.
Yeah, the thing about Rome though is just it's sticky.
It is.
It's a sticky heat. Like we saw ourselves passing out basically in front of each other being like, are you a little bit too warm? And we were like, yeah, I'm about to die. Do you want to go back to the aircon, lovely cool room?
Yes. There ain't no Amalfi breeze knocking around.
No, there's no breeze, there's no nothing. It was hot.
Yeah.
Hot, lads. So yeah, that was August.
No, it was
July?
It was just at the tip of July, yeah.
Sorry,
the very beginning of July, yeah. So I guess we'll work through our categories. So first is transport. I'll cover the transport, sure.
There's a lot of options.
There's so many options. You can get trains there. There's trains going all the time, huge train station. They have Ridemovis, they have Lime bikes, they have scooters. So these are all scooters and bikes that you can just get on through an app. Quite reasonably priced. The Lime bikes were our favourite because I'm not very good at cycling and they were nice and low. So I was able to, you can adjust the seat quite low. So we didn't mind cycling around a little bit. Especially in the heat. There's taxis, there's Uber, there's Free Now, which is another taxi app that you can use, and then there's also the bus and the metro. So you're spoiled for choice really for getting around. What we did in particular was, even though we didn't end up using it, because it is quite a walkable city, I have to say. Although the hills are terrible.
It's walkable, but it is very sparse. It's spread out. If you're walking from the Vatican down to the Colosseum, it's a very
hefty walk.
Yeah.
So I suppose the Vatican is kind of a little bit out of the area. But what we did was we booked. There's these big bus tours, and they're pretty much in every city in Europe. And for an extra, I think it was like €9 each, we could extend our bus tour tickets for 3 days. So our plan was, because we were staying right beside the train station, which is the first and final destination of the bus tour, our plan was to just use these tickets because we could just walk out of our gaff and jump on the hop on, hop off bus.
Yeah, and then get off wherever we want.
Wherever
you
we
don't have to
wanted.
run the whole tour yourself. You can get off at any stop. So that's a great thing. It is a really, really handy ticket
Yeah.
to have.
So I think if you're a nervous traveler, or maybe if you don't want to rely on your Google Maps or whatever, that just get that big bus ticket, because you're not going to get lost, and
No.
it's very, very handy. And I thought it was very reasonable. Otherwise, the metro is so cheap. The other buses are cheap. If you're a seasoned traveler and you don't feel uncomfortable, then obviously you can make your own way around. But that's what we thought ourselves would be great. Didn't fucking use it. Didn't use it at all.
No, we just used lime scooters and lime bicycles really in Rome was our...
Yeah, and just walking.
Yeah.
So,
I have to say, out of all the like Ridemovi, lime bicycles, all the rentable services, I found lime the cheapest one.
It was the most affordable, and I thought that they were the best set-up bikes, and they were the most popular there as well.
The baskets and everything with the setup was actually really, really good. But I have to say that the scooters were probably the cheapest scooters I've rented, even compared to Florence. Like, they have Ridemovi scooters here, but they're €3-4 for 5 minutes, whereas the scooters in line were a lot less. Less a minute or something.
And people say that, like, obviously Italians are known for being crazy drivers.
Yes.
But I actually thought it was totally fine cycling around there. They really respect cyclists in Italy across the board. So you're not going to get knocked over. It's totally fine. Just keep to the right, keep going. And for me, as a very, very nervous cycler, I know I was just following you the whole time, which was fine, but we
were cycling main roads, the main roads leading to the Vatican, and you were cycling. So that's a big, for anyone who's nervous, it's a big thing where, Jane will tell you it's doable. It's doable.
But then they also do have free now. So if you end up on the other side of town from your accommodation and you want to just get a free now going home, obviously you can just jump on that. We will.
And you did bring over your Free Now app from Ireland. You didn't have to set up a new one or anything?
Didn't have to set up a new one.
So anyone from Galway who uses Free Now, or even I think Dublin as well, anyone from Ireland, really, your Free Now app will work in Rome.
Yeah.
So that's really handy. It's already set up for you to go.
Yeah, and Uber has just kind of become more popular there, and you can get like Uber Blacks and everything. So yeah, there's loads of options for transport. I have to say, I thought it was really, really good. Move on to accommodation. I'll let you take over the accommodation.
Our first accommodation, it was a really kind of basic Airbnb. It was obviously an old hotel B&B room that they've redone. It was the perfect location as well for us for staying there, because right beside the train station for when we were leaving the city, and also for the hop on, hop off bus. That was our destination, starting point and finishing point. So being 2 minutes from there was really, really good. I think we stayed there for the first 3 nights, and the last 2 nights we moved to a more expensive area.
No, we actually stayed there for 4 nights, and then we were our second place was through booking.com, and we went to a place called Hotel de Corsa, which was quite northern. It was by the Vatican, and a very fancy part of town.
Yeah, it was in between the Pantheon and the Vatican, and it was all the fancy shops. In that area.
Wasn't it was a nice that one as much.
It was very I didn't dig it too much. It was very boutique. They were trying to be really like strange, with like lots of red in the room, and like red leather furniture, and like, the kind of black white art on the wall. You're kind of like, well,
it wasn't really my
jam. It was weird. The first accommodation was just like, I think that's what we liked it so much. It was literally just like an old hotel room that got redone as an Airbnb, and it was just plain and simple, nice and easy.
There's a little kitchen there. We cooked there one night. So I thought it was really handy. I just want to touch on the location of our accommodation, and I don't want to give any spoilers for the next episode, but we did stay by the train station our second trip back to Rome. Yeah. Because I thought it was just such a it's such a handy area. You get off the train, you know where you're going. We know that area now around the train station like the back of our hand as well. And our favourite restaurant in Rome is there as well. But I will say, if you're a woman travelling by yourself, try and stay about 4 blocks west of the train station, because just the first couple of blocks around the train station are a little bit rough and a little bit dangerous.
Like any train station at night, any train station area in a major capital city, most people will know that's where drunks, delinquents, everyone will hang out around that area. So you can feel a little bit uneasy at night. Yeah. I imagine, especially as a single woman, little 4 blocks west, is already kind of into a bit more touristy area and a lot more people. So
Yeah, and it's kind of like the main route to the Colosseum. But yeah, I would have just I'd feel a little bit nervous staying in that area, even if I went back myself, knowing it very well. So, but again, if you're in a couple or if you're male, totally grand. No one will
absolutely
bother you.
sound.
But
Keep your heads about you and you'll be sound.
Yeah. So food, the fun bit.
The food in Rome is absolutely stunning. We had a lot of different like firsts there.
Mm-hmm.
We had like our first taste of a chain of sandwich shops that are El Prosciutteria.
Yes.
So
they're everywhere in Italy.
Everywhere, absolutely everywhere in Italy. This one near the Trevi Fountain, though, for us was probably our favorite.
Across Italy, it's
across Italy.
real.
Yeah. They make their own kind of salsa verde, basil pesto mashup of heavenly goodness.
It was delicious.
Yes.
And so around the Trevi Fountain, it's extremely busy. All the restaurants are extremely busy. There's queues out the door for sandwiches, for gelatos, all the rest of it. And that prosciutteria, sure, we got a lovely table sitting outside. Less than a 2-minute walk from the Trevi Fountain.
Yeah.
So we'd recommend that. Again, it's in our Excel sheet. Then you wanted to bring me to a very special pizza place.
Yeah, so Antico, Forno, Roscioli. So if anyone like me, the fan of any of the Munchie series on YouTube, or Frank Pinetto's will show the pizza show, he goes to this place and they do the Roman style pizza, which is more square based by weight, kind of with a focaccia base, and it is absolutely unbelievable. If you like pizza, go to this place. We had a whole roast chicken dinner pizza. Is that the way to describe it?
It was so good. We went in and it was like really affordable, I thought, as well, for it being so famous. It's actually run by a Canadian chef, isn't it?
The head baker now is Canadian. He's worked there for like 9 or 10 years, so he's running it for them now. But it's
extremely
super busy.
But we managed to get an outside table, which was great. It's kind of just pull a stool up to an old shelf and
it's down a side street past a church, not far from the Pantheon, and it's very much, they take over the whole street. That's their restaurant. And that's what makes it so special in Rome, is people eating out in the streets.
Yeah, but we walked in and we just said, hey, can you give us like 4 different types of pizza slices? Give us your favorite. And the next one was better than the last one. It was absolutely unreal.
Yeah, I think my favorite one, they just had a tomato base. That was it.
Yeah, there was no cheese
tomato
or anything
sauce,
on it,
nothing, and it was the nicest tomato pizza I've ever had in my life.
Yeah, I liked the old roast chicken now, when I have to say.
Oh yeah,
but
sliced potatoes and everything on the top.
It was. I never thought
I'd like to an Irish woman's heart.
I never thought I'd like potato on pizza, but I have to say it was.
The Romans can do it well.
And then we'll talk about our favorite restaurant, which we've been back to like 5 or 6 times.
Yeah, I think it's probably the most visited restaurant in Italy for us, even though we live in Florence.
Yeah.
This place in Rome is still our most visited. So, Ristorante Pizzeria Al Fagianetto.
We'll link it in the description.
I could be butchering the name, obviously.
It's right by the train station.
It's been there since like 1923. A really old school restaurant, massive inside, huge ceilings,
murals on the walls,
blue skies, absolutely stunning.
But the biggest thing is it €8 or €9 for the best pesto pasta in the entire world? We have ordered that. We even got it for takeaway once. Like, I think we've had pesto pasta from there like 6 or 7 times.
The first night we like arrived and it was kind of late, and I think we were considering getting like KFC or something on the corner.
We were
just for takeaway. We were a bit hungry. We just arrived. We'd done our little bit of walking around Rome, and we're like, we'll get food on the way back. And KFC, luckily, or wherever it was, it closed. Jane was sitting in this place having a beer, and we just said, "Oh, is it okay if we have some food for takeaway?" They were like, "Of course, no problem." They were so accommodating.
The nicest staff I've ever met in the whole world.
They had 2 guys on the floor, just 2 guys. That was it, and they had their shit together.
Yeah, covering about 250 seats.
250 seats, and they had about 8 or 9 languages between them. Yeah. And like anyone that was coming up to the door, they were just like switching language. It was incredible. Like most places in Italy are, but
very handsome waiter who works there.
Very handsome waiter
who decided to join me for a beer. I was delighted.
Well, I wasn't there. It's typical.
He was lovely. He was lovely. He was sound.
Just be careful when you leave your girlfriend at a restaurant. You can guarantee that she's going to be joined by one of the waiter or the owner of the establishment or something. Okay.
Actually, you have to keep you company. I was on my own.
Yeah, sure. I shouldn't have left
it. But yeah, I cannot recommend that restaurant enough. It's really affordable. They give you free bruschettas when you sit down. The only thing I wouldn't recommend is that some of their fish, which is very obviously on the menu, some of their fish is frozen. So just don't go for that.
Yeah.
And chicken across the board in most Italian restaurants is shite. So just don't go for the chicken. Go for the pizzas. Go for the pastas. You won't be disappointed.
Yeah.
And you'll literally like it's €3 a big beer there. A bottle of prosecco's only tenner. You can't you can't
go
spend
wrong.
money. You can't spend money there.
So like we recommend it if anyone's getting off the train and you want a quick lunch, a nice plate of pasta, cheap beer, and a bottle of prosecco. Go there.
Yes.
You'll have the best time ever. It's cheap, it's cheerful, it's authentic, it's Italian. It's just
favorite restaurant in Italy.
Yeah, absolutely.
So fun. I'll start the fun, but we had a lot of fun in Rome.
We did a lot.
We did a lot. So we were there essentially for 5 full days. And for the last 2 days of the trip, one day we spent up in that kind of rich area of town. We were tired. We knew we were going on to the next leg of our journey, so we didn't do much. And then the second last day, we ended up in an Irish pub and had decided to stay there for the day because it was so hot and it had aircon. And there was a great Irish bartender there who was giving Cormac a lot of tips about getting a job in Italy. So those 2 days were kind of write-offs. So we had 3 full days in Rome, and I have to say, we did everything.
We covered absolutely everything.
We did the big bus tour on our final day because we wanted to use the tickets, and we'd actually seen everything already from just walking around and from
there was only a couple of things that we hadn't seen so far, and that was like the chariot field where they used to race the chariots and stuff up beyond the Colosseum and some of the garden areas. You just wouldn't be arsed walking. But the bus tour brought you through, which was lovely.
But yeah, we did quite a lot. So on our first night, because we were staying by the train station, we decided to just wander, which was kind of nice. Cormac came up with this really funny plan, which was we just walk around the streets and then we just follow wherever the fairy lights were.
Yep.
So that was kind of our plan. We had some guided tours booked in, which I'll talk about in a minute. So we kind of, on our off days or in our off evenings, we decided to just wander. So the first night we just came upon the Colosseum and the Pantheon, which was lovely. Then the following day we had a guided tour of the Capuchin Crypts. And I booked this because I love macabre. I love, I love a good old Egyptian mummy. I love that kind of stuff. And now this isn't for everyone. But what I will say is, so it's where some of the old monks used to live, and it's 5 crypts, one after the other, and it's all made of the bones of the monks. So there's like chandeliers made by monks. And I will just preface this by saying that even in the first crypt there are the bones of 3 children, Medici children. So if you're not into the macabre, or if you feel like you might get a bit upset by it, it can be a bit full on. Not for everyone.
Not for everyone. It is literally, body parts screwed to the walls.
It's all bones. There's no body parts. No body parts.
Bones. All the bones are on the wall.
There's no photography allowed, but maybe just give it a little bit of a Google. There are some pictures on Google Images, and just take a look if you actually would want to go and see something like that.
We found it fascinating because when you're actually down there, it's very different than looking at a photo.
But they bring you into the actual monk museum first, and our tour guide, what was his name?
I think it was Enrico,
he was class.
Yeah, he was absolutely one of the best tour guides I think we've had before.
Yeah, easily. And the tour was about €22 each. Again, where we got the tickets, I think we got them through Get Your Guide. If we didn't get them through Get Your Guide, we got them through TripAdvisor. Anyway, the link is in that description. But it was maybe an hour and a half long, almost 2 actually by the time, because he gave us a little bit of a rundown of the Medici Square that was there as well. And it was so busy that he had to split the tour into 2. So half the group went with another lady, and they went ahead of us, and then we just waited around with your man. And he was sound as a pound. We were delighted that we got into his group.
Yeah, he's the kind of lad that you want to go to drink with afterwards. Yeah. Like you want to finish the tour and be like, you want to go for a pint? He just seemed very interesting. He was really nice, well detailed, but just good crack. Really, really open guy. Like.
Mm-hmm. Do you want to tell him about the funny joke? Oh. He was loving Cormac.
Yeah, he was loving us. We were in there, and he just turned around. He was like, "Oh yeah, there's only one like set of bones in the whole place that isn't Italian."
Mm-hmm.
And he was like, "It's an Irish guy." And he was like, "Can anyone guess where he is or who he is?" And we're like, "What?" And he just pointed at one of the chandeliers and just went, "It's chandelier." To which I obviously was the only person in the entire room that broke down laughing hysterically.
He was good crack.
He was good crack. Yeah.
But yeah, again, not for everyone. But if you wanted to do something different, if you've already been to Rome and you've seen the Vatican or you've seen one of the main sites, I would highly, highly recommend going there.
He gave us some very interesting information as well with the squares and like how all the marble and the families used to be traded and stolen, and like people were like, it's very fascinating, that the whole area now.
Mighty tour, good afternoon.
Yeah, really good tour,
and a good way to get out of the sun for a few hours.
Yes.
High heat. Then we went to the Trevi Fountain. Trevi Fountain was beautiful. Mobbed,
so busy. You all know yourselves. People love getting their Instagrams taken there, so it's a lot of people just taking photos. You can get up to it all right. It's actually not that bad, but it literally, you have to get past a wall of people taking their Instagram photos.
Yeah, so I recommend going there either late at night if you go to a bar maybe in that area, and then go very late at night, or if you're an early riser, which we aren't, go very, very early in the morning.
I do know there's like 2 little bars actually that have little balconies overlooking the fountain, because I know I have some friends that went there and they sat up there and you could just look over it and have a drink.
Yeah.
Now, you all know yourselves, it's probably going to be expensive for an Aperol Spritz up there.
Absolutely, yeah.
It might be worth it if you want to take the little break and sit down and not be amongst the crowd and actually have a good view of the fountain.
Yeah. Then the next place that we went to was we did a full day in the Vatican. And I will say, we've gotten through the Uffizi in an hour in Florence. The Vatican is a full day.
Full day.
Even if you're just belching through it, even if you don't get an audio guide tour. So there's lots of different options.
Pre-book your tickets.
I don't know.
Holy shit.
The amount of bloody people that I saw standing in a queue for hours. And I was like, should we, you could book it even the morning of.
So there was like a 200 meter, 300 meter long queue that wrapped around the outside. And I think I just noticed that there was a small sign that said pre-booked tickets in this queue. Like there was no one in the queue, but there was like pre-booked tickets. So we just walked up the front.
Walked straight in.
And I think we were a little bit late for a meeting we booked in for 1 o'clock, but we didn't get there till like 1:30 because of delays with the bicycles and everything.
Mm-hmm.
And we just walked straight in.
Yeah,
and it was fantastic. No problem at all. Small security check, and that was it. So pre-book your tickets. Don't queue up for a walk-in ticket.
No.
It's not worth it.
So I would recommend don't get an actual in-person guide. I recommend getting an audio guide.
Yeah.
They're super handy. I think they're only £9 as well. We didn't opt for either of those. I had been to the Vatican once before, and I'd done quite a lot of research beforehand, and my parents had been there only a couple of months beforehand as well. So my dad had given me some tour guide books as well. So we just walked around it, but even just kind of walking around, it was extremely busy again. There is aircon, thank the Lord. But now we did stop in the middle of the Vatican because they have a bar in the Vatican.
They have a bar in the courtyard.
So we had a glass of Prosecco in there, just to say that we had a glass of Prosecco.
So that's the other thing for anyone. Yeah, you actually can. You can have a little bit of food. You can get your drinks. You can sit outside in the shade, doing activities every single day.
Yeah.
It can be tiring.
We
were just like, get a glass of Prosecco and then go at it again, and we got the rest of the Sistine Chapel and everything after that, which was incredible.
Now, once we walked out of the Vatican, and this could have been why it was so busy, but I assume that it's so busy anyway. We went on the hike this summer, and the Pope was making some kind of special appearance. Yeah. And so when we walked out, the entire Vatican City was locked down, and you'd have to go through security, and you could only go through security at certain gates. So we ended up having to actually walk around the long arse way around the whole of Vatican City. Yeah, so
we picked out a restaurant on the other side,
which had over 5,000 Google reviews, and it was up around 4.7 stars. So I said, we'll have to go here.
Yeah.
Hopefully it's not too busy with all the crowds, but thankfully everyone was going in to see him say mass or something.
We the balcony or something like that.
We actually got to the restaurant and it was empty, but across the board, the restaurant that we went to before we went into the Vatican to just get a coffee, the staff were the rudest we've encountered in Italy, and then the meal that we had just outside of the Vatican afterwards was the worst meal that we had on our whole trip. So do not go anywhere around the Vatican for food or for coffees or for anything.
I have never seen waiters hate their life as much as that first restaurant.
Yeah, there's a restaurant just across from the
I've worked with people who hate their lives in restaurants, but holy crap. That first place was horrible.
And it was right beside the entrance as well.
No, fair enough. They're a very, very busy place, but
they were just so rude.
Because we just wanted drinks and they wanted nothing to do with us then.
Yeah, they sat us like essentially on the side of the pavement, wouldn't come to us for ages. They were just really, really rude.
Yeah.
And again, the second place that we went to, the staff were nice, but the food was just so bad. I didn't eat any of mine.
No,
like we ended up having to go for a second dinner afterwards because it was just that bad. Now maybe it just wasn't to our liking. Obviously, lots of people seem to enjoy it. But
maybe a bad day, just it happened to be a bad time, but
we did not like it as well. Yeah. So I would recommend not going anywhere near the Vatican for food or drinks. Just get in, bring your water with you, bring your sandwiches, bring whatever, go in and have a lovely drink in the Vatican garden.
Yeah,
and then
see
get
the Sistine
flip
Chapel,
out of there.
The hour-long exit, as we call it.
Exit through the gift shop, and there's about 10,000 gift shops.
A million of them.
I wanted to get out of that stage. I was tired.
Yeah. We had enough of the old history and museum.
I don't know if seeing baby Jesuses at that point.
Exactly.
So yeah, I would just say, just mark it in that the day that you go to the Vatican, it's long. Now there are actually evening tours of the Vatican, and you can go in for special late nights.
Oh, that'd be nice.
So I would recommend that if you went in, like if you had like a day of just chilling, having a nice lunch, and then maybe went in at 6, you're still not going to get out until 9:30, 10 o'clock.
Do you know, is there a price difference?
I don't know. But
we'll find out.
Yeah, we'll find out. And but yeah, I'd recommend that, or just, if you're going to the Vatican, you're doing that, you're going for dinner, and you're going to bed. Yeah. That's all you're doing.
Nothing else, lads. Nothing else.
So the next one that we did was we walked around Tratesvere, which is in the southwest of the city. And it's kind of like hipster, young, lots of craft bars, lots of cool little restaurants. My parents were actually staying in that area when they stayed, and I have to say it was very, very nice.
It's one of the most famous areas in Rome for outdoor drinks, for bars, for parties. Everyone just says, "Oh, go down there, you'll have a great time." They mean it. You'll have an amazing time. We found a lovely community square with was it a cinema setup?
Yeah, a cinema setup. Yeah.
All these kids running around, people having like €2-3 Aperol spritzes.
Yeah, great little area. So highly recommend that. Again, it's a little bit far away from everyone, but you can just get a free now or whatever back to your area.
Yeah.
Or if you wanted to split the trip and say that you were doing 2 nights in one area, maybe near the train station, and then 2 nights maybe in the Tratesvere area.
That'd be beautiful. That'd be the way to do it.
Yeah. And then the last 2 ones were the big bus tour. Can't recommend it enough. Get your bit of history in. It only takes an hour. You drive around the city.
You see everything.
Hop off. So you can do it all day, or you can get the tickets for 3 days, which we got, but we only used the tickets for once. And then our final kind of fun place was we went to the Abbey Theatre Irish Bar. So there's lots of different Irish bars in Italy. So we do have to say that Finnegan's, which is the bar that Cormac works in Florence, they have a sister pub down in Rome, which is also called Finnegan's. And
if you're looking for an authentic little Irish dive bar boozer, you look no further, lads.
Yeah, so there and the Abbey Theatre are our 2 favourite little Irish bars there. They have aircon, packed as could be, especially around if you go over for a match or something.
They have aircon and Irish staff, so you know.
Good for a little change.
Can't go too wrong.
If you're doing a long trip.
If you miss home, lads, after 2 or 3 days, you know.
Yeah, gosh.
I just want a pint of Guinness. Come on, please.
But yeah, they're both good fun and a little bit pricey, but not too bad. So that brings us into value for money. What did you think overall for the value for money?
Overall, I think Rome was actually pretty good, because we were very surprised when we had the pastas and stuff in our restaurant the first time, how cheap they were. And then the first night of the Colosseum, when we were kind of getting used to the area, we found a place with beers overlooking the Colosseum for €2. So I think, there's a lot of tourist traps in Rome, a lot around the Vatican and the big touristy areas. But I have to say, you will find very cheap options. Yeah. And dinner as well, food, like main courses for €10, €15 in a lot of the local places. So I gotta say, it was better than I thought. I thought Rome was going to be just on steroids for being touristy and famous and people visiting. But I gotta say, it was actually really well balanced with
it is.
Now, like beers and Irish bars are expensive.
Obviously.
But everything else, I have to say, like pizzas, bottles of Italian beer and wine,
Yeah,
very good value.
I think
Very good
Rome
value
is
overall.
a great long weekend destination.
Yeah, you can do a lot.
Yeah. So yeah, I thought the value for money was really good. Taxis were cheap enough. Food was cheap. Beers in certain places were cheap enough. So yeah, I have to say,
Accommodation was cheap enough.
accommodation was
Everything.
great. There's so much accommodation there that they
Mm.
can't really charge that much. So our accommodation was actually only around €55 a night, which was
Yeah,
brilliant.
It's
So
unbelievable for Rome.
yeah. Last kind of tips or tricks for Rome. I just have two. One is bring good walking shoes because Rome is on, is it 9 hills or 11 hills or something?
You're going up and down a lot, yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of hills. So just bring good walking shoes. Again, if you're walking around the Vatican, you're walking a lot in Rome. And so, yeah, just bring good walking shoes. And then the other thing that I would say is that if you're thinking about going to Rome, get there at the latest in the year by the end of May and or from September onwards. That June, July, August, it's peak tourist season. It's so busy. It's over 40 degrees. Don't recommend.
Yeah.
But any other time of the year, it's actually
What
lovely.
about, I just remember now, for the Capuchin, for the catacombs, did you have to cover your skin in any way or something in that place?
Yes, you did. So women couldn't have, or women or men, you couldn't have your knees or your shoulders on display. So,
Yeah.
I just had a light little shirt with me.
Yes, that just came into my mind just for people to be aware that
Yeah, I'd like linen pants.
certain religious elements are going to be,
and especially if
they don't
you're
want you to
going
wear.
into certain parts of the Vatican as well, you need to be covered as well.
Yeah.
So bring your linen shirts, bring your linen long pants,
bring all the light long gear.
Yeah, and just have it in your bag because you won't be let in otherwise.
Yeah.
You're also not allowed to wear hats in the Sistine Chapel or in any church for that matter, if you're male or female. It's just a sign of disrespect there. So yeah, just be warned.
A lot of places there, no talking, no photos. They have security there. They'll tell you they generally don't.
Yeah,
they just do it obviously as their job. They don't give out or get angry.
In any church or museum, if there's a body buried there, then technically it's a grave and therefore you're not allowed to take pictures, which is totally fair enough. So just be warned, keep your smartphones in your pocket. You can find the photos on Google. I know everyone wants to get photos for the gram, but what are you going to be doing, taking a selfie at somebody's bloody grave? It's not that cool.
And an overall kind of observation from my side, I think Rome was the one place that our phones died more than anywhere else with the heat.
Yes.
So just bear in mind, I know everyone has the issue now, but if you're coming in the height of summer to Rome,
bring your charger, bring your battery packs.
We found, especially for the Lime bicycles or the scooters, when we put the phones out and we were using it for directions with the maps, they were just dying so fast and getting overheated. So just be wary of that. Just be careful when you're traveling around. Maybe use one phone and the other person leave their phone in a bag or handbag or something.
Yeah.
That was one thing for us that ended up
being very, very annoying.
Very, very annoying.
So we'll do our little point score now. For transport, I'm going to give it a 9 because there was so many different options. Again, buses, metros, trains, everything you'd ever want. So
yeah, I think I'll match it up with an 8. I think I'm going to give it an 8 for transport in general.
Fair. The traffic can be a little bit hectic.
Yeah, the traffic is a little bit hectic in the hills and stuff, but overall really, really good. Really good.
Accommodation, it was cheap, it was cheerful. Our second accommodation was a bit rubbish and our first one was just a bit plain. But I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10. It was a little bit difficult to find some accommodations there as well.
Yeah.
So.
I think I go with 7 out of 10. There was less options for our budget, but overall they were very plain and simple, kind of easy to we easily checked into them and stuff. So they weren't complicated. Yeah, nice and easy.
Food, I'm going to give a 9 out of 10. I'm only docking at 1 mark because we had that really bad experience at the Vatican. But across the board, there's some gorgeous restaurants at really good value.
I'd follow that up with an 8 or 9 myself, actually. Yeah, 9 has to be because the pasta alone and the prosciutto and the pizza places that we found were some of my favorites in Italy. So.
For fun, I'm going to give it a 9. I'm only docking at 1 mark because it was just so touristy. It was just so full. Everywhere was a bit full, and I got a bit anxious in the Vatican that it was just so crowded. So, again, I'd probably give it full marks if we went there outside of the tourist season.
Yeah, for sure. I think I give it a 9 as well for fun. Same as yourself. Just a little. Everything was really good fun, but a little bit over touristy for me.
Touristy, yeah. And then value for money, I'm going to give it a 9 as well. I'm only going to dock it 1 mark because there are just a lot of tourist traps. Thankfully, at that point, we had a tiny bit of Italian, and we were speaking to enough people that they were giving us tips on where to go.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's the only reason.
No value for money, 9 as well. I think everything that we got in terms of food, in terms of prices for the bus tours, for the catacombs was really affordable, and we had a lot of fun doing it. So
yeah, it was a little bit. Obviously, Rome was one of our most expensive places actually overall because we did so much.
We did a lot.
But it was definitely worth it. So our overall score for Rome is actually a little bit higher than I thought. It's 85.
Yeah, wow.
So it's coming 4th on the leaderboard right now. 3rd on the leaderboard out of 4.
Okay.
So now we will be doing our special bonus episode with our 2 special guests.
Yes, indeed.
A very angry Welshman and a lovely American lad. And we'll be talking about our experience of going to Rome for one night for the Irish rugby match.
Yes.
So it'll be a very different experience. We won't be scoring it or anything like that. We'll just be giving our hilarious how we got scammed multiple times. So yeah, we hope you stay tuned for that. We're Jane and Cormac. We hope you enjoyed our Rome episode and tune in to the next leg of our trip in Italy, Siena. If you like our podcast, then please subscribe and please give us a 5-star review. It's free and takes just a couple of seconds. You can follow us on socials at Alt Living, and you can download our Excel sheet with all of our accommodation, restaurant, transport, experience and budget details for our 6-week holiday on altliving.com. See you next time, guys.
See you next time.